Good morning.
Good morning. There you go. Come on down. I'm good. Yep. If you are in grades 1 through 5 or a child, age 4 to 6, oh, they're taking you guys have children's church back there. Awesome. Let me pray before we get into this. Guys, this is some heavy stuff today. And it's good stuff. It's good stuff. But it can be heavy, especially when we look at our world and we look at Scripture and see what it has for us. So let me pray. Father, we love your word. And we love what you command in your word and how you describe yourself in your word. And Father, we thank you for that. And Father, help us to hear what you are saying today. Even through my voice and even through the words on the pages we have in front of us. And Father, we just pray that you are here with us and you're speaking to us today. So we thank you for that. We praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. So for today, do I need to put it down a little bit? No, we're good. So for today, we're going to look at James 1:26 through 27, 2 verses, and that's it. I got plenty of time to walk through those. But what I want us to think about and realize is just the picture that we have of religion in the world today. Because you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words in religious. And we hear that word a lot. And, there's a large portion of the population that would say religion is worthless. It doesn't matter. And there's a portion of the world today that would say religion in any form is bad. It's actually bad for society and civilization and all that stuff. So you have to be aware of those feelings that people have, the animosity or the indifference or whatever that they might have to religion, to following some deity, and just what they think about it and how they view that. And I mean, you'll hear that on the news, on the internet, all over the place. So just be aware of those things as we look at our passages today, because James has something for not only us, but for those people that say these things, that are indifferent or animistic or an enemy of religion in all its forms, because it's a dicey issue, it's a touchy issue that we have to be careful with, but in one sense, and also bold with in another sense. So we'll dive in and see what that means. So we started in James in September. If you believe it or not, and we are just now getting to the end of chapter 2, which is a good thing. We're pulling what Jesus has for us out of there. And just so to remind you guys of what we've been through a little bit, James 1 kind of talks about at the beginning these trials that God is making use out of and making us complete, lacking in nothing out of. And then with that idea of trials, and you know, when you come through a trial, you're like, man, I need wisdom for this. And it says in there, ask God, who gives generously to all without reproach, and it will be given to him. He wants to give us wisdom in those moments. And let the lowly brother boast in his exaltation. When you're going through those trials and you see a lowly brother who's got some trials going on, that brother can boast. God's working in him. He's taking him to the perfect, complete, lacking nothing camp. Then we see, blessed is the man who is steadfast under a trial. That's a good thing, which he receives a crown of life after he gets through that whole thing, which is good. So this idea of James taking some trials, pointing out trials that we have and how those relate to God and what he's doing in those. Then we saw in October just the idea of listening to God in those times. Not just flailing around doing stuff, but listening. And he speaks. He's the Father of lights who created us with a word. And then in verses 21, he says, with a word, the implanted word that's able to save our souls. He's speaking to us. We need to listen to it. That's how I think of the phrase I use, that's how we're remade, is that God made us with a word, and he can remake us with a word. When we feel the weight of our sin and see how it's broken us and other people, it's that word that he speaks into us, mainly Jesus, that saves our souls. And then last time we saw to be doers of this word, that not just listening, but actually comes out in our lives with our hands and our feet and our words and things. And so we should do those things. Those words have impact and meaning for actually doing life and how that should change our life and what that should look like. And so today we're kind of at this pivotal point in James where he's not really talking about generalities necessarily, but he's kind of like painted this big picture of what he's going to do in the rest of this book. And today's verses are like this pivoting point where he's going to finally get into like some specifics, some of the practical stuff that we love James for, and we'll see that today as we read it. So I am going to read it, and then we're going to break this thing down phrase by phrase. If that sounds terrible to you, I'm sorry. That's what I like doing, just breaking it down, because it pulls so much rich treasures out of his word. So let's read it. James 1, 26 through 27. If anyone thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God, the Father, is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. There's some heavy stuff in there. We're going to break this thing down verse by verse, or phrase by phrase, really. And the first thing he says is that if anyone thinks he's religious, and it's that word that triggers people a little bit. When they hear that, they think of religion, they think of the indifference or the animosity towards it, and all the stuff that has been done in the name of religion. And I know some people think about that. And they say that's pointless cultic rituals that church nuts or religious nuts do. It's odd, it's idea, it's something mystic and unthinking theology, or an unreasonable faith, or a pointless action. Then on the Jesus team, we kind of react to that. You ever heard the phrase, it's not a religion, it's a relationship? You ever heard that? I've said that before plenty of times. And it's true in a sense. It's very true in a sense that I follow Jesus because I have a relationship with him, and I know him as Savior, Lord, King, and Healer, and all these things. But in another sense, in a more broad sense, it's still a religion. We're still devotedly living out what that means to be in a relationship with Jesus. So don't react necessarily to that word at this point, because what this verse is trying to do is include you. It's trying to include you in what it's talking about. Right? We are here right now. I'm going to say it obviously. We are here right now in church. And no, I realize Orville's gone. He let me write my own sermon, and so I'm saying obvious things. We're here right now in church. This is including us, right? We decided at some point today, yesterday, or previously that going to church on a Sunday morning, it would be a good idea. And it is. I'll tell you that. It's a good idea. But that's a devotion to a deity that's religious in its kind of non-negative, just bare minimum Webster Dictionary sense, is that we are devoted to a deity, and what that deity has told us to do is to gather together, and the way we express that in the 21st century is coming to church on Sunday. And so in one sense, this is including all of us. Because in some sense, whether we think we're really religious or not very religious, we're here. Congratulations, you're here. And we could have been getting ahead with our work or chores. We could have been binging on Netflix. Who binges on Netflix? I don't, but I hear a lot of people. Or maybe you're an introvert and you're like, why am I with a bunch of people right now? There's like 20 people within, 10 feet of me. Why am I here? Or you're an extrovert and you're wondering, why does Nick have a microphone? I want the microphone so I can talk to everybody. No? Okay. Sorry, you can't talk to them right now. Anyway, so you're here right now. You consider at least yourself at some point, and in some sense, religious. You're following a deity who has told you that this is a good idea to be here. You're doing it. And so what's the next step? James says, and does not bridle his tongue. So if I think I'm religious, which includes us, and I don't bridle my tongue, and bridle's a good word for it, because it's like this horse kind of thing. Like, it's You put a saddle on it, you put the whole get up on it, and it's bridled, you're ready to go, it's ready to be ridden and taken places and get you places. This is not saying you don't talk. If anyone thinks he's religious and talks a lot, it's not really saying that either. It's more of this idea of control. If I think I'm religious and my tongue is out of control, then it's going to keep going. But if my tongue's out of control, and I know what this feels like, I do it all the time, because my tongue gets me in trouble. It's probably the primary way that I get in trouble is by talking too much, or saying the wrong thing, or using my tongue to get myself in and out of situations. Kind of this idea of just, it's out of control. Like I can't control it. It just says stuff. I want the words to come back into my mouth, and it's that kind of idea. It's a primary way of control. I think of stories. You ever think of stories in your head when you're talking, and you're like, that's a funny story, but we'll keep going. So if anyone thinks he's religious and does not bridle his tongue, does not have control over his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless, is what James says. So if I think I'm here, if I think I'm pious, I'm religious, I'm following my deity, and my tongue is out of control, I'm deceiving my heart. One commentary put it, an unbridled tongue can deceive even the tongue's owner. It's amazing to me that can happen. I could say stuff that I think I genuinely mean, but my heart is not the same way. My heart doesn't reveal that. I'm actually lying in saying those things. Which actually is a better picture of what my heart is actually doing. Matthew 12:34 and Luke 6:45 says that out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. So if I have no control over my mouth and I just say stuff, I realize that what I'm saying is a picture of my heart and where that's at. So if it's uncontrolled, then my heart's going to be uncontrolled. If my heart's evil stuff is going to come out of my mouth. I tell myself I'm a follower of Jesus and I can't control my mouth. What makes me think that the faith that I possess, that I speak with my mouth, is true and I believe it? See, this idea of control, an idea of religion is worship and has elements of speaking to it. We can't control our mouth. When we proclaim Jesus as our Savior, what makes us think that He's actually our Savior, that we actually think that? Because we'll say anything. We don't have control over that. So in the moment we're there, we're like, yes, Jesus, I'm here. I hear the worship. I'm having this experience in a building that is called a church. Yes, I believe that. And then you get home, and out in the world, then our mouth sounds totally different. What's controlling it at that point? Or like James says, there's trials that we go through. In one sense, when we have no trials, and we say, God is so good, God is good, and He loves me, and He cares for me, and I'm on top of the world. And then the trials come, and we say, God doesn't love me. Where is He at? He hates me. God's bad Himself. When we say those things, we show that our hearts aren't in control. The emotions and the circumstances of our lives are in control. We toss around like waves with it. We've heard this before, action speaks louder than words, and what Scripture is saying, even here in James, is but the words that we say are a more accurate picture of our heart. So we can do all this stuff, we can come to church, we can do all the stuff that he says in here. But where's our heart at? And what are we saying with our mouth? Is it in control? Do we have our tongues bridled? Can we actually praise Jesus in those hard times? Praise Jesus in the good times. And everywhere in the middle. And then it gets worse. It says, anyone who thinks he's religious and does not bridle his tongue, but deceives his heart, this person's religion is worthless. My religiosity, good word, religiosity, piety, my devotion to my God, if my tongue's out of control, And it deceives my heart to actually, I think I'm religious, but my heart's actually not following any kind of God. And that religion is worthless. My heart hasn't changed, my mouth hasn't changed as a picture of my heart. And Nick, that's harsh. James, that's harsh. But it makes sense. Following a deity means there's changes that will happen. There's a heart change that will definitely occur. So in that moment, we're taking shots at our boss. In the moment when we're yelling at our kids in some uncontrolled anger and rage, or lying with false flattery, in that moment, following Jesus is worthless. All that stuff we did, all that the scripture we've read is showing itself to be worthless. And not that we have to be perfect, we'll get to that, but it's showing itself that it hasn't worked its way into affecting that part of our life. And we deceived ourselves. Don't forget that. We deceived ourselves with that. And thinking that I follow him. And then my mouth goes off and reveals what my heart is actually doing, but I still think I'm following him. It's deception. So then, what James is doing, he's trying to poke at some very deep things in us. Our heart, the religion, the beliefs that we have, the deity that we follow. And he's poking and saying, okay guys, this isn't worthless. This isn't how it was meant to be. This isn't how our lives should look if we're followers of Jesus. He's starting to poke at very deep things in people, and deep things that he's going to keep going. Because where he's going to reach to next is very deep within all of us, of wanting and desiring to do things that are meaningful with our lives. Wanting and desiring to do things and to believe things that are not only true, but worth something, that they matter. That's the next verses. Let's jump into them. Verse 27. Religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this. So he's saying, okay guys, I know you want a worthwhile life, a worthwhile following of a God. And God the Father is the one. And this is what it looks like to follow him. This is not what it looks like for a worthless religion. A worthless religion of all these cultic practices that we do and things that are goofy. But one that actually is tangible goodness that we can be a part of. It's pure, it's undefiled, it's not worthless. Think of like gold. Gold that is worthless has all these imperfections, and broken, not formed, and still has rocks all over it. It's not that worthless, but a pure, undefiled stick of gold is worth a lot of money. I don't even know how much it is. It's that kind of idea. So don't miss that. Also, don't miss what he says about God the Father. Now, Bible study tip. You look for similar words throughout a passage to see what the guy's talking about. Sometimes words that occur infrequently have a lot of meaning because they're used in specific ways. And that's what happens here with God the Father. God the Father, pay attention. It's only 3 times in the book of James. James 1:17, he's the Father of lights. He is the originator, the creator of lights. And the next verse says that he has created you by a word. James 1:17. Now James 3:9, also talking about our tongues too. We bless our Lord and Father, and with it, we curse people who are made in the likeness of God. Still this idea of the Lord and Father, God the Father, has made people. He's the Father of everybody. He's made us all. There's 3 times he's used that word, all this idea that God is the creator. And that's what the idea he's trying to pull into this passage. Religion that is pure and undefiled, not worthless, worth something, beautiful, before God the Father, who is the Father who's created everybody, is this. 1, to visit orphans and widows in their affliction. Why? Orphans have no dad. Widows don't have a father to their children, or deprived of the opportunity because their husband died. Those 2 groups lack what God is in an earthly sense. They lack a father who is a human father, who's supposed to display God's fatherly attributes. I told you guys this gets heavy, right? Orphans and widows, you think, like there's movies about orphanages and we see it, and they're probably not even that accurate. It's probably worse than that. Widows who have gone through one of the most stressful things in existence of a spouse passing away. They now have this void in their life. They might even have children that they need to take care of. They're deprived of the opportunity to see God at work through a human father. And I love it, what James says that we should do is visit them. Get next to, not just send money or food, those things are good things, but walk around the grocery store with them. Be in their presence. Why? Psalm 68:5 says that God is the father to the fatherless, and the husband, do I get there? We're called to be widows. There we go. Father to the fatherless, the protector of the widows is God in his holy habitation. This is what God is already doing. He's looking at those two groups, orphans and widows, saying they have a humanly father, but I'm there with them. And James is telling us to get with them too. To be in their presence. Even in their affliction, in their trials. He's saying you are called to be in that trial with them. Now there's one sense that orphans and widows is kind of this term, like just the phrase orphans and widows represents an entire community of oppressed and afflicted people. I get that, yes. I'll agree with that. But we should not say that and then forget about literal orphans and widows. People who proclaim Christ are called to be in the presence of literal orphans who have lost both parents. People who proclaim the fall of Christ are called to be in the presence of widows who have literally ladies whose husband has died. In their hard places, in their hard times. And once we understand that and hold on to that, then we can start using and understanding the general references of people that are oppressed, people that have no protection, people that get taken advantage of by a system, by other people, because they're weak and not strong and have no way to protect themselves. That's when we can start moving down that line, moving down the list. But I don't want us to hear orphans or widows, yeah, I think they're out there somewhere. They might be out there somewhere. We're told to visit them, to get up and go. And not because of some religion that's worthless, but because it's worthwhile, it's pure and undefiled, and God is already there working. Even Job, in his final appeal to God, he says, in I think it's 31:18, For from my youth the fatherless grew up with me as a father, and from my mother's womb I guided the widow. He even says, in that, probably one of the oldest books in Scripture, he even says, that's something I've done that's worthwhile and good. And ultimately we can attach the word justice to it. You think of justice as this thing where you punish the wrongdoer, but there's also this sense used just a ton in Scripture of not just punishing the wrongdoer, but righting wrongs, righting injustices, and being there to make that happen. God is already at work, working justice for these people, for the oppressed, the afflicted, namely orphans and widows, but we can expand that. We can expand that to anybody that's oppressed. Pure and undefiled religion. We're doing meaningful stuff here. Next thing he says, religion that is pure and undefiled before God the Father is this: to visit orphans and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unstained from the world. So God, as your maker, as your Father, who is unstained himself, who is at work in the world but unstained from it, calls you to do and be insane. We're called to be unstained by God. And in the world, in a scriptural sense, especially here, is this idea of an evil system, an evil place where bad things happen, injustice happens. Where it's not God who is in control, but somebody else. And he says, you are already there. I know it. I love you, and I'm calling you to be unstained from the world. You are my children. Unstained from the world. And so the other day, the way I think of this, the other day I was playing with Leslie, and she had a marker, and a 3-year-old with a marker, dangerous. And my parents found that out, the 3-year-old with a marker is dangerous. And so she put a not a big swipe, a little swipe of the marker on my pants. Okay, she's 3, I didn't get mad. Thank you, Jesus. He's worked with me. I didn't get mad or anything. And it's a dry erase marker, which is difficult to get out. You need alcohol and other things to get it out. And so, I changed my pants, and he's like, oh yeah, we'll get it out. It's just kind of difficult. And so the next day I go looking for some pants. And they're washed. Don't judge me, they're washed. I put them back on with the stain. I didn't care. At the point I needed some pants. And so I put them on. And I'm like, nobody will notice. It's at a spot where people don't normally look, so we're good, we're fine. Please don't judge me. So I wore those one day, it's fine, but it kind of gave me an understanding of what this means. Unstained by the world. There's 3-year-olds with markers running all around trying to stain you up. And sometimes they do. And sometimes we're okay with that. And we just put the pants, put the shirt back on. It's not that big of a stain. I'll just live with it. It's hard to get out. You need alcohol and other things to get it out, which sounds really bad. There's other things that need to get that out. I'll just wear it. I'll live with it. It'll be okay. We'll just keep washing these pants. Keep wearing them. It'll be all right. So those pants that could have been used to go to a wedding are now slowly and with compromises becoming more and more stained until they are the ones that get used for the kamikaze painting project where all your clothes get thrown in. And it's that slippery slope. Keep yourself unstained from the world. There might be a small stain. It might be hard to get out. God is calling us to get that out. And kind of like orphans and widows, where He is already at work, He is already at work getting that stain out. Because He sent Jesus to die on the cross. He lived an unstained life, die on the cross, rise again, so that His blood can be clean. His blood can take that out. Because that stain deserves punishment. We can't have the dirty shirt. We can't have that mess on us when we see it. He's clean. He's undefiled. Praise Jesus. He sent Jesus to come and make that happen for us. He calls us to a life of real, tangible goodness, both outwardly visiting those oppressed and inwardly and cleaning ourselves. Not because we can do it, but because Jesus did it. We join Him. Which is really what James is trying to get to today. We're called to do what God has done for ages. This is not a worthless religion that somebody cooked up. This is millennia, eons old stuff that God has been doing that He's inviting us into. And you're welcome for the people that wanted to finally have me put a fill in the blank. I put one on your sheet. The fill in the blank for that one. You're called to do what God has done for ages. I'm called to go to oppressed people, show them that God is their Father, and go and preach the gospel to them in their affliction. I'm called to take a swing. It might seem like I'm doing it, but take a swing at sin. Take a swing at worldliness in myself and get that stain out. Why? Because God was already there, fighting that battle that we're trying to win. With the laundry and all that stuff. He's trying. He's already there in that. He's saying, join me. He's calling me to share his victory with others. And even the highest victory that we know of is the gospel. So for those who think, and those people who we know that say religion is worthless, we're going to tell them, I get to do what God is already doing. And what he's been doing for ages. And it matters. Helping the oppressed and the afflicted matters. Getting evil out of me matters. And I'm called to be with him in that as Jesus works on me. I can make a legitimate difference in the world, not because I'm good at it, but because I'm working with the one who's already there doing it, who's perfect at it. We're to participate in the divine work and do what our Father is doing. This is the family business of the Christians. Not worthless religion, not meaningless ritual that we have no idea what it means, but pure, undefiled devotion to God looks a little bit something like this. So what do we do with that? There's a lot of things that we can do with that. Literally, you can go be with orphan and widows. That's a good one. My suggestion would be do it in a group. Don't go alone. God's already there. It's good. And that's all you need. But don't go it alone. We're all called to this. It's not something we have to do just by ourselves. And if I were to structure small groups, I would have that be a mission of a small group, of a group of people who said, yeah, I want to go visit orphans. Let's all get a bunch of people that want to visit orphans and go visit the orphans. I want to go be with widows who are going through rough times. Yeah, get a bunch of people to go be with some widows. That's a good thing. That's pure and defiled. That's meaningful. That's doing what God is doing. So I invite you to think about that. Also with the watching your tongue is a good one. The bridle, the one who does not bridle his tongue, just sees himself through his religious worthless. So watch your tongue. I know you can hear what you're saying and like disassociate yourself from it, but listen to what you're saying sometimes. Realize that that's coming from you. And maybe you don't want it to come from you. But thank you, Jesus, he makes us unstained. And he can work that out. So watch what you're saying. And finally, just recognizing stains is hard. I realize that. I realize the little stains we put on every day are hard to get out sometimes. I realize that. But I invite you to take a swing at them. Like literally fight them. You're not literally using that figure. But take a swing at those things. Recognize what God is showing to you about your life and the stains that you have. And don't be okay with it. Don't be okay with sitting in clothes that are not meant for a wedding. With a life that doesn't show that it's going to be with God and it's one of his children. Don't be okay with it. Have this holy discontent when you see a stain. And praise Jesus, he helps us. He helps us in that. Not only helps us, he actually does all the work. You just got to be with him. That's good stuff. Let me pray for us as the worship team comes back up. Maybe. Yeah. I'll pray for us as Father, we love you. We love you that you don't just give us stuff to do that's meaningless. Father, even the sacraments of communion and baptism mean something. They're worthwhile. And you've done them. You were there in those things. And Father, you are in this world working, and we thank you for that. We thank you that you are the father to the fatherless, and you protect the orphans and widows. Help us to see you at work and help us to join you. Father, we know that you are calling us to a life that's unstained by the world, and Father, that's hard. Help us not to be okay with that. And Father, help us to turn to Jesus in those moments when we see those stains. And Father, help us to grow in following you and just to know that we are doing something that's with you. And Father, that is meaningful in this world. and that brings you glory. Help us to preach the gospel in those moments and show orphans, widows, and ourselves the gospel that Jesus has saved us. We thank you.